Okay, everyone, welcome to Coffee with DT, where we're just going to have quick conversations throughout the week since we can't be together in reality. We can be together virtually. Don, let's just go ahead and hit these questions. Sounds good,
Sure.
everybody?
Yeah.
Cool.
Looking forward to it.
So, Don, we had an interesting internal conversation with some of our team where we were just talking about working with clients and different projects like that. And one of the things you said, which I thought was super interesting that I'd love you to expound on, is that nobody pays you for easy. Can you expound on that from an agency perspective?
Absolutely. I think one of the things in business is that, clients bring you on board to solve things that they don't understand, they don't have the bandwidth for, or they don't have the right way to think about how they want to forge ahead. And so a lot of times what typically when you're growing your experience as a professional, right, there is a tendency, right, to stop at the first roadblock or course of action or campaign that doesn't quite hit. And the reason that clients pay us is to overcome mental obstacles that they can't get through on their own. And that means you have to be truly creative problem solvers, right? Clients don't pay us a lot of money to consult so that we use the Google magic search bar, right? And then put what's in Google into a PowerPoint and send it back to them, right? Clients pay for insight. And that means that they want you to talk to actual people in the field. They want your network. They want your experience with clients like them and problems similar, but a new way of thinking. And so when I say that clients don't pay for easy, especially because we're a smaller firm and a little engine that could, people aren't coming to Walk West just based on our brand. They're coming to Walk West because they see something about our entrepreneurial DNA. They see something about how we got 1 billion impressions for a client, and they want to know why we did that, how we did that. They want to know how we took a $30,000 budget for a client and got 800,000 end-to-end views. They pick the little guy or the little gal, right? Because of the results we deliver. And usually we get clients, unfortunately, like we'll get there one day, but right now we're happy, we're blessed. We get clients that have PTSD from other bad agency relationships.
That's true.
Right?
That's
We
very
get
true.
clients that have tried to do something already internally and messed it up. And then they're like, here, good luck. Right?
Yeah.
We're almost like we're a little digital marketing firm that's asked to do the impossible, right? We get a client, the North Carolina State Fair, and then, man, 2 hurricanes hit. And we need to get there, right? And then we need to get their pre-sales up right in the midst of 2 hurricanes. And that's just what it is. And our feedback and goal in delivering client results is to give them something that's truly, truly different. And our DNA helps us do that.
That's awesome. What do you think it is, to kind of go back to something you mentioned a bit earlier in that? What do you think it is that makes people kind of stop when they've done one or two things and they haven't found the answer they're looking for? What's that disconnect that they're not thinking innovatively about that
Yeah,
subject?
I think it's 2 things. It's they're not thinking innovatively, and then most people aren't used to failure as a part of a winning process,
Mm,
right? If you think about the people that we hire, they were top of their class at school. Doesn't mean they went to this college or that college, but they were very good students. They're very, very creative people. People are used to, our developers are top flight. They're used to people saying that their work is amazing.
it's true.
They are not mentally geared to somebody not liking the output of what they delivered and then how to respond to that, right? So that failure becomes emotional versus it's one less thing that we now have to discover because we know the client or the persona that we went after wasn't quite right. So now we've got 4 or 5 more opportunities to hit it very precisely. Instead, people coming up through the ranks in their career take it as a negative impact that you didn't like my idea, because typically creatives tie their personal persona to what they present.
100%.
Right? And so now we're having a personal dialogue, and the client's just saying, I don't think this idea right now is going to make me money. That's
Right.
all the client's saying. And I need an idea that I believe is going to make me money.
Hmm.
Right? The creative's like, you don't like me.
Yeah.
Why don't you like me?
Yeah, that's
Right?
true.
Like, I don't really appreciate the feedback. I tried. Oh my God, I tried so hard on this. I spent 5 hours on this concept. And it's so difficult to get people to understand that that doesn't matter how hard you try. It only matters what was delivered and did it meet or exceed expectations. A
Right.
bad day for us needs to be meet expectations. Our everyday habit needs to be exceeds them. That's the only thing that matters, not how hard we try.
Have you noticed a tendency toward that with younger professionals versus people more seasoned in their career?
Actually, let me actually give another extension on that other point. This is like a soapbox, and I'll get back to your question. I'm being totally
Okay,
rude, but like
go for
this
it.
is really important.
You're like,
This
I'm
is
gonna
really
lay.
important. This is really important. This is why a lot of times creative professionals don't really dig my personality until a period of time has occurred to where they believe I'm trying to help them be excellent. I'm not mad at them.
Right.
I'm trying to make their work great. I'm trying to help them be better business people. I'm not against their creative genius or talent.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an analytics individual and you bring me a dashboard that I don't understand, it's not the fact that I'm not smart enough. It's the fact that you're not smart enough to put it in the context that me as the consumer get it. And because we're having that conversation and I'm asking you to redo the dashboard, take out all of the buzzword salad and tell me whether or not my website got more hits this month.
Mm-hmm.
Did it get more or less based on what we did?
Right.
How long did the people stay on my website? And did they buy anything? Those are three things that every client wants to know if they have a site. Now, if you give me 75 different pieces of data, don't get mad at me because I want to know those three things.
Because they're like, I spent so much time on this. And you're like, but
Right?
you didn't begin with the end in mind. Like the end
Exactly.
result was the results.
That's right. But your question, I had a little more soapbox, so I apologize.
You're good. Yeah, the question was, do you notice a difference between people entering the workforce versus people who are more seasoned in the workforce when it comes to receiving feedback?
Yeah. 6 months ago, I would have definitely said it was generational,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would have jumped all over it. I'd be like, these Gen Z and these millennials, like they just think everything they touch is golden and they don't know how to work. Like I would have had a lot of bias, right?
We grew up with participation trophies.
Yeah, participation trophies, everybody gets a ribbon. And what I've found as I've done more reading, as I've dug into what we're doing with the diversity and inclusion, and in particular, a potential acquisition that we're getting ready to make with a company. I was talking to the CEO of that company, and it's not generational, it's mentality. People with an ownership mentality understand, try, fail, and adjust.
Mm-hmm.
People with an employee mentality are trying to get the right answer that they came up with because they're trying to get the ribbon. They're trying to please the boss, the teacher. The ownership mentality is trying to do what's best for the client to grow the business. And if their idea doesn't win the day, but it's one of their peers, if it's the third rail of innovation, which is an idea that we co-create together, there's not an appetite for anything other than the client success, the project success, different than the individual accolade that I got the assignment right. And so I think it's more the mindset and the mentality and not as much generational as I would have thought even 6 months ago. And so then what we're looking for is people in our organization that have that ownership mentality, that bias towards the bigger picture result, and a little bit more thickness in their skin to say, wait a minute, can I learn something from this critique? Now, nobody wants to be talked down to, talked in a way that's not respectful. That's not what I mean. But I can be respectful and not like your idea.
True.
Right? Like those two things have to be able to live together in the same conversation. And that's something that I think is, that part of it, I think, is a little bit more generational because younger employees or less experienced employees, the way that their lives have been framed, my kids, for example, is that all of my ideas are good and important, right? Express your ideas. Everything you say matters, right? Different than when I grew up, it was like, hey, listen, go cut that grass, go sit in a corner, do what I tell you to do. Like, hey, Dad, I got an idea. Yeah, I'll hear that later. Go do these three things. And then like,
Right. Yeah.
right? my upbringing as an individual and then in my corporate experience was more command and control, whereas the generations of today are in a more collaborative, and that is all good, but the output has to be based on client success. And that means your personal ego has to be subservient to the win for the team. And that's something that we struggle with a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because you're kind of talking about how younger generations could be more collaborative, but there's still that roadblock of that personal kind of, oh, my idea wasn't received well. Why do you think
Right.
there's that tension of maybe there's a more collaborative work style among younger generations, which this is hyper theoretical. But then at the same time, when your idea comes to the table and it's not picked as the best idea, it's still hard. How can we
Yeah,
reconcile that?
I don't know if it's ever going to be easy as much as understanding the process. And let me give you a real example as an executive, right? If it ever gets easy, if I have to transition someone outside of the organization, if I have to make a tough call as the leader and somebody's just not the right fit, if that's ever easy, then there's a problem with me as an individual and a leader.
Hmm.
What has changed over the years is that I understand big picture, that I have to protect 35 people as well as be gracious with a tough decision with an individual. So because I know I have to protect an organization, then I know that I have to do it, and why? Because the standard has to be raised, because client work can't suffer. All of those things I understand. So emotionally, it's still difficult, but I understand why I have to make the tough decisions and implement them. From a creative standpoint, or a developer standpoint, or a project management standpoint, in our business, an architect standpoint, when you understand the bigger picture that we are absolutely a part of helping a client's business grow. If we do that, they can take care of their employees. If we do that, they can continue to survive and grow. So we're actually a mission critical component of our client's work stream. So that means even though it may personally still hurt that my idea wasn't winning the day, I still have an amazing opportunity to help execute against whatever idea was chosen, because client success is why I'm here. And then second is the learning opportunity in terms of why I only presented one idea. One of the things that is this is very interesting that I'm still trying to get myself to understand is that people think their idea, they fall in love with their single idea, then they present it. It's not
Mhm.
selected, it's a problem. Why wouldn't you give yourself 3 to 4 shots every time you present to somebody that's managing you, a client, etc.? I now have 4 opportunities to win the day. That's
Mhm.
why I win a lot. When I talk to clients, I don't say, hey, this is the way we're thinking about your business. It's absolutely the right thing to do. It's crazy. I don't know the right thing to do. I talk to clients about, here are 3 streams of ideation that we can do for you. And here are the different results, cost, effectiveness for each one of these streams. Let's have a discussion about which way you want to go. So my batting average is higher because I present multiple options in any discussion that I'm having. And so then I win a lot. It's not because my ideas are better, it's because I take more swings at bat.
That's
And if you
good.
take more swings at bat, then all of a sudden your hit percentage is going to go forward versus being single-minded and myopic on a single idea. And I see a lot of junior talent roll up into my office with the one idea that I'm going to just love. And then they're not excited when I just don't love it. The other
Yeah.
thing is ego in selling to executives. If you give me one idea, even if I've paid you to give me ideas, right? I'm going to be a little resistant because it's not mine. We're all kind of selfish, ego-driven people. If you give me 2 or 3 ideas and we talk about those ideas together, and then you guide me to an idea that you might feel is stronger, but we pick an idea together. We're doing it together, so the chances of our relationship being more powerful are higher
Mhm.
because we co-created the outcome together. And that's a really important distinction with your manager, with a client, with anything that you're doing. People want to co-create things today. They just don't want somebody to deliver them something. Everybody wants to be a deeper part of the process, even at the C level.
That's 100% true. I think too, from a content strategy perspective, if you come to the table with multiple ideas, you're more likely to collaborate to find something that's more reflective of the person or the company that you're trying to work with anyways.
That's right.
Yeah.
The
Just
other
that's
thing,
cool.
the other thing I would add is that it's a try, fail, adjust environment in most businesses. And it's really important that we get our learning capability up in our talent, because everybody we're dealing with or competing with is smart also. So we're not, how people say, well, what separates our company is our people. Well, okay. But like, there's a lot of really great companies and firms and consultancies and that have great people, right? My people are better than your people. That's not really true. It's actually how we work together and execute that makes us excellent. It's actually how we take client input, turn that into insights, give them samplings through campaigns, low cost, and then scale what works. It's actually how we think about what we do and deliver the results to the client, not we're smart people. We have great ideas. Great ideas are the start of a conversation. Execution and results, right, are the foundation of a long-term relationship, right, with a client. Because people don't cut money from firms that are helping them win.
Right.
If you're helping me win, like, I'm not cutting that relationship first.
It's true. So there was another thing you said earlier this week in a different meeting where you said there's no training program for what makes excellence. You said a lot of training programs are getting you to average, getting you to the baseline. What, in your perspective, is the thing that pushes you from the baseline to excellence?
One of the things, I don't have all the answers, but I'll give some from my personal perspective, is
Yeah.
how quickly can you take in new information and apply it to your everyday work stream? That's excellence, right? So Leslie works with me very closely, and we're building out probably 7 different streams of companies I'm advising, Walk West things, consulting, writing, all of these different things that we're doing. And so if I point out something that Leslie can continue to improve, and the next time it's better, that means her learning capacity, her RPMs, if you will, are fast. And that's good, because we're going to make a million mistakes. It's not the elimination of mistakes. And that's another thing that slows down output. It is how quickly you can learn from that mistake, correct it, be better in the future, and then make sure it doesn't happen again from a process standpoint. And those are things that help deliver excellence. The other thing is preparation. I've been around the block a little bit now in business and different things, and you're just not good enough to wing it. I know if you're not prepared. I know if you're running into my meeting right before. And it's often better to move a meeting 15, 20 minutes another day and provide great insight than have a bad meeting. I much respect somebody that says, hey, Don, listen, my day got away from me. If we could do this on Thursday versus today, I'm going to deliver much better value. What client wants your bad work?
Right.
Right? Unless it is like, there are times where you got to deliver today, right? Like,
Yeah.
certainly. But that's not really most days, right? Most days things can move in a reasonable level as long as the quality output is good and you communicate it in advance, right? For what the customer is doing. And so most people fall into a cycle of running from meeting to meeting, thing to thing, thing to thing. And they don't really take time to sharpen their axe so that their clear mind is present in what they're doing. And so even in our work together, if I'm not ready to meet with you, Meghan, our time together is very important, right? So that means I don't want to waste your time, even though you're a part of the team that I'm building, if I'm not ready to give you thoughtful feedback. You have other things you should be doing than me trying to wing it. So therefore, if you think about the times that we do meet, I have thoughtful perspective on what I want to give you guidance, what I've reviewed, different things of that nature. You have my attention. I'm engaged in that moment. If I'm not engaged in that moment, then you need to tell people. if somebody's, this was a good thing, and Leslie will get mad at me, but well, not mad, but like you were super new. You were really new. Like, so this is like rookie thing. So she handed me a document. Do you remember this, Leslie? And she handed me a document, and she says, and I said, Leslie, have you read this document? And she was like, yeah, right.
I didn't say I read it.
Right. So there was just like 2 minutes of deciding, do I tell him I didn't read the document? Should I have read the document? Like, she's going through all of this mental ping pong. I wasn't asking that to try to trick her. If she'd read the document, which is a simple document, Liz has an MBA, she's very smart, brand management experience. If she read this document, then I would want insight from her on what's in it. I'm not going to read it. If she hadn't read the document, then I'm going to take 2 or 3 minutes and I'm going to walk through it. I just needed information. She thought I was trying to personally go at her as to whether or not she did the job or not. I just needed information to inform what I was going to do next. And so every question that feels like a tough question is actually not an attack on your business value. Sometimes the leader just needs to understand where you're at. I may say, hey, Meghan, who looked at this strategy brief? Was it just you? Did Lizzie look at it? Did Mango look at it, et cetera, right? If I know you just looked at it, then we need to take a step back, and I need to be a little bit more thoughtful because there hasn't been a second opinion.
Right.
I know that you and Lizzie have looked at it, then I can talk a little bit more about execution. So sometimes the questions are just to frame what I do next.
It's true.
It's a good lesson to learn, because I think, and I grew up kind of in the same era as you, Don. It was like, it was my way or the highway. My dad and mom were just like, no, this is how it's done. This is what you're doing. And I don't care, you know? So I always feel like it's, why are you asking me this question? Is it because I did something wrong? And so for me, and working with you now, I know, and you still do it when you ask me a question, you're like, it's okay, I'm just asking. It's like, I just
I'm asking
know
a
the
question.
That's right.
And I'm like, it's just asking the question. It's fine.
The final thing with excellence is hard work. You know, and this is, maybe it's, I don't know if this is generational or not. Like, I think work-life balance, and I don't really like that term. I use work-life integration. I like work-life blend, right? If you have something you need to do for your family during the work hours, you should do it, because sometimes your work is going to have to ask you to work over the weekend. I think there should be a balance, and I don't mind that. I think that's smart. However, I don't think that people work hard enough to be excellent, like, because they think they're good enough already. And I'm not sure how you get excellent at something working 38 hours a week. Maybe you can. I don't know how to do that. Maybe you can, but I don't know how to do that. And so if your goal is to be excellent in your career, then there's got to be periods of time where you are working really, really hard. And that doesn't mean 12 months straight. That doesn't mean 2 years without a vacation. That's not what I'm talking about. But there are periods of time to where you're working on your project work, and then you're taking a course to take you to the next level at night. It's, you're working your traditional things, and then you're working with your management team, and you have an extra assignment that's stretching you in a new area, right? Being excellent takes a higher level of commitment. And one of the reasons that I've been able to succeed is I think that most people will never work hard enough to be truly excellent. And I love that. I don't actually want people to change, because that's my superpower, right? I'm gonna make 3 mistakes before you even started trying. And then I'm gonna learn from those mistakes, and I'm gonna be ahead. So I'm actually okay that most people don't want to work that hard. And it depends too on your goals. If your goal is to have a good, solid career and take care of your family and travel and do different things, like, all of those things are fine. It's really what your goal orientation is. If your goal is to be a senior director of content strategy at a $50 million agency, then you got to work extra. Because you got to understand the business, the content, the strategy. You got to stay up with technology. You got to learn how to communicate across, below, and with executives. You got a lot to catch up on or be ahead of to grow a career in a certain level. So I think the goals that people have sometimes are mismatched with the level of effort they're willing to put in, right? So I don't try to change people's goals. I just try to map them with what they're really putting in. And then the final thing is how well do you take feedback? Right? Like I take feedback pretty well, and I get feedback. I like to be right a lot, like most people. So I typically don't go into big meetings or big pitches with clients or big conversations without talking to 3 people that know more than me before I even open my mouth. Somebody asked me one time, said, well, Don, why do you seem to have the right answer? I said, because I read a lot and I talk to a lot of people before I make definitive statements.
Yeah, smart.
So if somebody's negotiating with me or talking with me, it's not really what I know, right? If I, it's who I've talked to, it's who I've learned from, it's experience that I had and experiences from other people in my network before I make a directional comment, right, on what I think strongly about something, an idea, a business direction. So I get a lot of feedback, and then I also take in a lot of feedback, and that's really, really helped me. And I'm smart enough to assimilate, good information and different things like that. I think that's really helpful, and then we'll go from there. But no, that's a really good question. Excellent.
That's awesome. Well, Don, thank you so much for your time and for your perspective and insights are always super valuable. And it's awesome to have this time to connect when we're all working from home. But I look forward to doing more of these. Look forward to quarantine being over, but look forward to doing more of these in the future.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Very good.
Absolutely.
Talk
See you
later.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.